This week we have a hydraulic punch assignment. In this assignment, we have 17 parts, and two of them is in these items. Two of them are the normal standard parts. Actually, the other parts are also standard, but we will just define the parts of this hydraulic punch parts according to the given figure, given technical drawing part. part. As you see, we have a balloon representation. At this point, we have we have a balloon representation. We have a section cut out here, and we have a sideway view, which is seen from the left side of our part. Let's look at, we have a 4 pages. In the second page, we have a part cylinder bracket. This will take out most of our time. The other parts are much more simpler than this part. This is the main part, then we are going to deal with it. The next thing, what I need is the next page. In the next page, we have a cylinder body here. We have a cylinder body here. We have a piston at this point. We have a sleeve stop, cylinder head, lock nut. On the fourth page, we have the sleeve part, piston rod, punch as itself, the piston seal, the O-ring, springs. One is sleeve spring, the other one is punch spring. Also, we have the punch cap and the guide ring for the cylinder piston, punch piston actually. Let's begin making the parts one by one. I will just take it sideways. Open a new metric standard part from here. You see, we have an isometric view from each side. But the most thing that we have to do is we will first create the body, then shape it by moving the material from inside and sideways. First, we are going to just create everything that we see from here. Also, we will use all the dimensions in our parts. First, we need a sketch. The most complex sketch of our part is this one, the section B. And I will assign this view as a front view. We have a sectional cutout here to show you only the thickness of the wall thickness, which is shown at this point. These are the walls which are created for all the parts. Also, we have some bolt. I'm sorry. We have. I'm sorry. We have a bolt emptiness here. We will just insert the mounting bolts for our punch to somewhere else where it is. I don't know. But we are going to just make the outline first. For this reason, we will just our first sketch will be based on this view, and we are going to make this front view representation. I will just choose and take the visibility of this part and XY plane visibility. As you see, we are on the front face of our part. Here, I'm going to start the sketch. You can just choose every single point that you can make for the part here shown in our figure. What I need is, here, I'm sorry, I think I have made a mistake. No, it's not. It's not actually a mistake. I have just forgotten some parts. It was an English in units, but I will just convert them to uh, the metric units. Here also you will see some not rounded up dimensions. For these dimensions, especially the pipe inlets and piping works, especially in your homes and also the construction machinery and the hydraulics, if you are dealing with the hydraulics, you will sometimes see the inch units, and these are the units we will just to deal with it. For example, this one, this dimension, is the 4-inch representation, which means that if you just multiply 4 times, I'm sorry, 3 times, if you just multiply 4 times by 1 inch, which is 25.4 millimeter, you will just get this result as 101.6. And also we have some threaded information in our body part. You will also see some connections. Threaded connections are also in inch units. Let's start with our first part with the bracket of our hydraulic cylinder. The first thing, as I have told you before, I'm going to start with this technical drawing representation of the front view, which I have assigned. For this, I need to select the origin point for my speed. I will take this point, or you can take this point as your origin. It's up to you, but I will just like to have this part point, which is at the most point. Also, from the top side, we have, I'm sorry, this, this point as my origin from the top side. Also, this point from the left view. I will take this origin because my cylinder will just insert it and work in the technical appearance. Our cylinder will work around this axis, and this is our bracket axis, and I will just define this point. I will just make every single point which I'm in every direction. I will take this point as my origin. This is the point from the top side view. This is the point from the left side view. Because I will look from the left side view, which is this one. I will look from this point, and I will get this view representation in my figure. Let's start with the drawing. We first have an outline, and I will take this point, and I will start with an axis line, and I will just convert this line, center line, afterwards. First is the construction. For this dimension, I will use the part dimension to be a center line. I will convert it one by one. The next thing, I have an outline here. We have a figure something like this. I will just draw by the annotation. Here, I will just draw this outline first of all. But as you see, we do not have too many dimensions specified here. But I can just trace and track the changes. As you see, we have some clues about the dimensions. I have just placed this dimension. Also, if I add this portion and if I add this portion to my figure, I will just use the same alignment of our figure. Here, Also, we have an outline which is just drawn at the bottom side of our top view. Here we have just assigned 15.5 and 15.5 to the other side. I will just take these two views, two dimensions to the top side. I'll just draw a line. This will be also construction line. Here, I will just draw a rectangle first of all, then another rectangle, and I will just define the length from this line to this line, which is this line and this line. I will just add 168.5 plus 15.5. I will just define the length which I have seen here, 168.5 plus, this is the one, 15.5 plus again 15.5. This is the dimension which I have calculated from here. I will just get this dimension from the alignment from the top view side. Here, this is my view. Also, the rectangle here, we have, as I said, we have 13 millimeters. I will also insert that dimension in my view. The next thing, what I have is, as you see, we have the diameter dimension, and it is seen from the top side. As you see, it is seen from the top side. I will just change this dimension actually to this line, to center line, and define this length to be 106. The next thing, what I have is, I have not defined this length. For this, I will just go and search for other points which are not mentioned here. For this reason, I will just zoom out my figure and search for another dimension. As I have told you before, we have just marked this center point, which is this point, and this center point, our origin, and this origin. As you see, from the bottom side, we have a dimension. And that dimension that I can just see is this point. And as you see, it is 67. I will just give and define. This time, I will take my centerline properties, just using ordering the line, and I will just define 67. The next thing we have is this part here. The length here of this basement, which is just filleted through with a 6, but we do not define this dimension. We do not define, I'm sorry, we do not define this dimension, but I can just really imagine it can just have a full dimension to be selected. You can also just make the fillets between these two, or you can just make the radius type if you want to, but I'm not going to use this one because I will use some this dimension with a feature. I'm not going to just use this fillet right now because it is a disturbed fillet. As you see, when you just make the alignment, it is not touching. Here you can just use this one. I will use this one, this fillet tool with another fillet, with the feature fillet tool. As you see, it is disturbed. It is disturbed by the hole coming from the part inside. For this reason, I'm not interested in this color here. The next thing, what I need is for outline on the top side. I will just create, for this reason, a new line to get the interaction, the dimension between, I'm sorry, the dimension between the origin point and the structure on the top side. We have a structure something like this on the top side. For this, I will just make a connection, which I'm not going to use. For this reason, I will just create construction figure. As you see, we have a 1.6 100 1.6 millimeter diameter dimension, and it is attached to it. For this reason, I will just create a mirror of this one. I will just create the mirror of this line, not this line. I will take the mirror, this line, and choose the mirror line, which is the center line, to just make a starting point. Again, I have just forgotten to do that while I'm done. Come on, have the mirror line. Apply first. I have just created and done when I have finished now. You can also use this way. I will just trim my figure. I will continue to create. As you see, we have a circle on the top side. We have a circle here on the top side. And it has an axis dimension from our figure. From the bottom side, we have 125.5, and from the front face, we have 35 in distance. For this reason, I will just create two lines to represent the center point, and I will just make a line. As you see, I will just adjust the length, and I'm not going to use, for this reason, I will just do construction. I will just define this length, which is 35, this length from 125.5, 125.5. This is my center of this small circle, which is 13 millimeters. I will just create a new circle at this intersection point, and I'm sorry, it's automatically got that dimension. I will just create and give the dimension for this tool, which is 13. Also, we have another arc shape here. We have another arc shape, and its arc shape is 25.5, which is attached to this point. Okay, and it is attached to this point. I will just create a new circle, give a dimension, take the dimension style from diameter to radius to have this one 25.5. The next thing, we have an outline at this point. We have a line passing through. Also, we have another other two lines attached to it. As you see, it just grabs this point. It is not moving because it just grabs this one. You can also take normal line here. This is the mirror line. I'm sorry, I have forgotten this one. If this is 70, this is also 70. Okay, because this is the mirror of this one. I will just make trims for unnecessary parts. But here I have a missing part in our dimension. Here I'm going to trim the parts of these, but I do not have a height information here. I do not have a height information here. As you see, we do not have a height information. For this reason, I think I have forgotten that one. Animation. Ah, okay, and I will just define that dimension. This dimension is about 15 centimeters. I will just delete. When I just delete, we have lost the dimension information for this part, and we have lost the connection information from this one. To reconnect these parts again, I will just use the collinear constraint to make the lines following each other again. Okay, this is the part that we have in. If I have just found or just remember my part design, I will just add that dimension design for that. Anyway, the next thing, what I'm going to do is I will just create this triangle shape, and this triangle, let me have, say, my part, this is the part 1, the sine and the bracket. The next thing, what we have is, I will just go into this sketch. I will just connect this line. Also, I will just connect this line. I would like to have solid lines. I have triangular shape starting from this point, I'm just starting from this point and ending at this point here. Okay. Next thing that I need is I will just enter the dimensions that I have seen here. We have at 79, and to get those points, I will first trim the original one. I will just create 89. From the front side, we have 41.5. This is our figure. So what I do is I will just create a solid and do the shape of our figure as much as I like. Okay. Here, the figure in this point, it is finished. What I'm going to do is I will just create a full solid with a 158 millimeters. Then I will just clear the inside figure, which I have seen In the isometric view, I will just go, finish my sketch. Now the extrude tool. This time I will just select every section which I have created with the symmetric condition. I will use this dimension which is 180, 58, which is this one. Okay. The next thing, I will just create a figure here, which I have seen from the top side. Okay. Missing dimension so far. Dimension something like this in order to clear my figure. Anyway, I think that's 18, something like this. This is my front view. I will shape the inside. For this, I will just make this sketch visible again, have the extrude tool, select inside, and make a cut operation with symmetrical, and I will just leave two sideways, which is 11.25. I will use this time 158. I will just clear inside with minus 2 times 11.25 to leave the stock at this point. Okay. Also, I have a missing dimension at this point. The next thing what I have is I will just go for it from the top side. I have this view, but from the left side view, which is this one, I have some missing parts, and for these I'm going to just create missing parts. This is 89, which I have seen here, and I would like to just clear this area which is defined. Actually, I have a missing dimension. I will just define that dimension. I will clear the red threaded area here. I will just clear this area from the front view side. Also, I will just clear the hole here from the. Also, I will just make a cut in this one by one. But for this, I need a sketch, which I have seen here. For this, I need to start the sketch this time on this face. I will just close the visibility. As you see, our origin is still at this point. Our origin is here. This is our point origin. Okay. The next thing, what I need is, I will just clear and create two things. One, I need a sketch here, and that dimension, the circle diameter, is it is defined 101.6, which is 4 inches. Okay, this is the one. Also, I need another line. Okay, I need another circle. I'm sorry, I think I have just made this one true because I would like to have. Okay, anyway, we have this time a dimension here, which is 95, I think it was. This is a straight wall. I will just make this one. As you see, it is just tangent to this one. We have a straight wall at this point. It's a normal For this reason, I do not have a defined dimension. I forgot this one, so I just make the sketch before this. The next thing, I will just create the project geometry to just create a closed loop. As you see, we have closed loop here. For here, we have some fillets. I'm not going to define that fillet in this section. For here, I will just delete this line again. So I will just create a circle here, make it small size, and create a small circle, having the dimension, diameter, radius, which is 6. Here, this 6 is just to be stick to from the bottom side, and its dimension is about 57. And it is tangent to this face. Also, this is tangent to this face, as you see. So we have a fillet at this point. We have to just make coincident to this point. When I have defined all the things, we have a linear out here. I will just make the trim for unnecessary parts. You see, we have just defined a closed loop, very close to it. I will just make construction because I'm not going to use. I will need only the shade of this one, also this one, and this one. Here, the next thing, this straightness that I need here. I need this straightness. And as you see, it is not symmetrical on each side. We have 35 from the top side or back side, 28.5 to the front side. For here, I will just create two lines. These are not symmetrical, and this is far from 35. I'm sorry. I will just use this line to be dimensioned from the center point here, which is 35. As you see, I will just create the closed loop area as I have seen here. This is my closed loop area which I'm going to use. Okay, this is the closed loop area, as same as the figure. I will create options, and here I need another portion to have this one, and I will just make a construction for purposes. For here, what I need is I need only this closed loop area in my field. I need this closed loop area in my field. This is the same thing which I would like to make it up to the true all process. Okay. The next thing, we also have another line. This point. Also, I will just put project geometry here. And this line is 28.5 from this one. I will just make a trim for unnecessary parts. Also, I will just make a new line and make it a construction to get a copy of this arc shape. I will just make select add the new one. I have the shape on the other side. I will just make a trim of our operation. Now I have two closed loop for cutting purposes. Also one hole for, again for cutting purposes. Finish my sketch first of all. I'll go straight to this time. As I said, I have an outline, make a cut through all section. I'll just make in here. Also, on the other side, same. This is the shape that I have. So the next thing, what I will do is, I have some fillets on this top side. I will make that later after making it. Again, I will use this same sketch for this. I will to make it visible and just create an extrusion with a cut tool for making the hole inside with a 3O. This is my part. Also, from this point, we have, let me see, we have a cut section. This is a saw section, saw cut. We just make the cut at this point. For this, I will just edit my sketch here, and I will just create a rectangle of millimeter thickness and make symmetrical around the line which I have created from the origin. While I'm mirroring this circle arc shape to the other side. Or here, I will just, you can use also symmetric condition. This line and this line will be symmetrical around this line. I will leave the ends undefined, but enough to make a cut at this point. I'll extrude tool. This time I will use this profile, this profile, I use this profile, I use my part to all section. I have forgotten this face, go to profile, I have this one. Okay. This is the face that I have used. So, okay, the next thing I will just make a sketch with. Here we have almost the same shape which we have on the front wheel and side wheel side. This is some fillets. If you want, you can just make the fillets. Change to radius to 6 because the radius on the front side and the back side it is 6. I will just delete 6. This one also, on the other side, this one, this one. This is the face that I have here. Also, we have some other fillets too. I will add those fillets. This is one. We have just made already, so anyway, we have this time we have a fillet inside, we have hole missing. Also, we have a detail on the top side. Also, we have some grooves or bolt mounting bolts on the front side, which are seen here. I will just continue to make the parts here. The next thing, what I'm going to do is I will just create a new sketch to create the hole at this point. For this, I need a geometry. Here, I cannot use. For revolve to this, I cannot use. I have to just create a new plane somewhere about the 33 millimeter far from my origin side. I need a plane to sketch on around this point, which is, sorry, this time I need a sketch on or this detail. You can also use some hole tools, but you also have to define some sketches on the top side. For this, what I'm going to do is I will just create a plane at passing from this hole inside. For this, I will use a plane, offset from plane, and I will use this face to cross inside. As you see, it is 35.5 millimeter far from here. I will just go inside, get the minus sign, and 35 millimeter far from here. I will start a new sketch, which I have seen on the left side view. Here, what I need is, I will just create a new revolve sketch. This is one. I will use an F7 tool and use the same shape line. This is the line, and this is the axis passing through my figure. As you see, I will just use this one. I first take the project geometry, which is this circle, and I will use the same thing, same tool, which is shown here. Okay, the next thing, what I need is this one. I will just create the whole feature. For this, I have a 35 millimeter. The distance from here, the distance from here to here is 35, 19. I have a mistake. 35 from the top side. Yes, I have taken this one. This is the 35.5, which I have a sole cut at this point. Okay, now we just go back and I just take that dimension again. It is 25. From this point to this point, it is 25. And I will just create a new, this time, a center line. And this profile, I will just make it part by using a rectangle to create, which I'm going to create with this one. We have a full threaded full here, and this dimension is about 26 in diameter, and it is 35.5, 33 millimeter far from this one. I will just make a cut through all operation. Also, we have a metric thread on the other side. I will just make a revolve to make a cut at this point. For this, I will use and extend this line to make a full cut around this one. I'm sorry, revolve to make a cut around and to create a whole feature in our figure. Okay. The next part we have metric 12 thread. On the other side, I will use this tool. This is a metric isometric, and the size here is, it is metric 12. I will use. I will get a warning because backside, because the first thing, the first one, we have a sectional cutoff is 13 millimeters. I will go to first sketch and reduce it to 12 and finish my sketch. This time I do not have a thread information because I can only thread metric 12, thread 12, circle, 12 hole. For here, I should have to just create a new hole with a normal simple hole. with a distance or with a two section with normal straight and with 13 millimeter on the surface and at this center point here. I will use this circle. Sometimes it's not difficult to this one. Sometimes we do not have anything. And so anyway, I will start a new sketch on this face. Go to project geometry to get the point on this one. You have a whole tool again and select this point as a whole. For normal thread to the two section, I will just make a hole here with 13 millimeter with a straight arm properties. 13 millimeter all the distance up to this point, which is 35, 33. Use 23 minutes up to this point. As you see, when I have measured this one, the tools, measure this one, this is 13 millimeter, and this will be less than 20, 12 millimeters. Okay. These are dimensions that I'll plug to have. The next thing, we are almost finished our part. We are almost finished all the drawings for our part. We have some grooves at this point. We have some grooves at this point. And these grooves are started from the 13 millimeter from this point. For this, I need to just sketch on the 13 millimeter, as I have known that our distance is 30. So I do not need a new plane. If it is different than the other, this surface, you should have to create a new plane by using this tool, which is with the minus 13 millimeter. We have to sketch on this plane. I need a new sketch on the surface. As you see, we have some fillet tools, which is 15.5 on each side. But before this one, I will just make the cut, then make the fillet tools afterwards. For here, I need to just make an F7 tool. Sorry, F7 tool on the under side. I need to create this closed loop area to make it clear in our figure, like this. I will just create a new one with a circle having the dimension, the radius 80. It is tangent to in all sides, and the dimension of our arc is 33.5. What I need is I need 4 geometric tools. I will just make the cut around this one. I will just make a split in order not to lose the dimensions. And I will just make coincident this line on this point. What I have is this one and this one. I will also have next thing, we do not have this limiting dimension. And limiting dimension, also we have this one. The limiting dimension comes from the whole access point, and it is, as you see, we have a dimension diameter here, and it is to be on the other side. Here, what I'm going to do is I will create the same thing on the other side by using the mirror tool. I have a closed loop area here. I will create the second one, and I will define these two axis lines with the 127 mm. It is the same whole dimensions which I'm going to just create. I will just make the mirror tool, select the geometry, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Have the mirror line, but I do not have this one. I will just create a new line for construction purposes. Also, for other side, I need the same thing. Actually, no, not same thing. I will make this my line coincident on center point. Have the mirror tool, this line, this line, this line, this line. I'm not interested in this one. Have the mirror line, that right, that other line, and I will just create two whole dimensions. I'm sorry. So symmetrical dimensions 127 here. We have the dimensions so far. I will just finish my sketch. I have the extrude tool, and I will just make a cut which I have seen from the left side view. I need a cut with 24 millimeters. I just want these two group areas. Change the cut and change the direction first, and change the distance to be cut. Just 24. Okay, these are the lines that I'm interested in. So, as you see, we have some hidden lines which are not shown, cannot be seen from the top side. We have some fillet tools which we have previously calculated during our base. Okay, the next thing, I will just choose the fillet tool and give the fillets which I have seen here. I will change my fillet dimension 15.5 and give the fillets to all corners which I have seen. Good. Okay, the next thing, what I do is, as a save reminder, just save my cut file in order to make it. I will just close the visibility of directions, which I have created so far. Our part is almost finished, and we will just make the whole things which was defined about our figure. I will just create all feature which I have seen from the left side. I will just create 4 holes. Let me just take if I just grab the view, or it is better to have this one and add some details for the other holes here. I will use the same sketch. This time, all holes on the other sides are just with F7 tool. I'm sorry, different software. The F7 tool, the other two center lines, center points of our figure here is, I'm sorry, I cannot grab that one. I will make coincident, this line and this point. I will leave as it is because I have already done this one. And the dimension of these holes are 168.5 millimeter 5 and this two. Here, finish my sketch. I will use the endpoints of these rectangles. I will get the tool here. This time, our hole have a shape with a contour ball shape, and this contour ball shape have 3 millimeter in thickness and 22 millimeter in diameter on the top side. We have 11 millimeter. For the two hole, I will just use this one with an 11 millimeter hole here. I will use and select points one by one. Change the direction, flip to the other side, change this one also, and this one also, and this one also. Okay. I will use all center abscesses here, as I said. Next thing, what we have missing is check. We have the fillets tools. We can just make the fillets. We've almost done everything, which is just seen here. The fillets tool, some places we have some small fillets of 3 millimeter and the big fillets are almost 6 millimeters. I will just create the 6 millimeter fillets tool. We have just given this one, and just given this one. We have just created the tools here. Let me check. These are the small fillets, which also this one, small fillets. From the top side, what I need is I have this fillet tool. On the other side, I will just change the diameter radius with 19. For this one, I will just use this one. Also, I will use this one. For dimension tool, we have F5 with 6 millimeter. I will use this tiny side as you see it is destroyed. Also, I will use a chamfer tool for all sides, and this chamfer is 1.5 in two sections. Also, this one that we have, that's this one. The other fillets are all 3 millimeters. I will just change my diameter radius for 3. This is the one. This is one. Also, this one. I'll just switch forward. Let's do so. Oh, I do not have time for that. So on this side, I have this. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Actually, I do not have this this one, also this one, this one, this one. Selection of the fillets just define if we go past 3. I will just put some symbols of 3. Also, we have other fillets. These are not implied, but I can take out 6 millimeters. This third, as you see, some fillets are not. Truly, it just wants us. Some fillets are not. Pretty. I like it. Just wants us. Also, we have a fillet 6 for this connection. Yeah, also this one for this fillet. Okay, so far we have. I will just say my part and just go for the other sections for the dates. I will just click continue with the next portion. The other parts are almost easy to create. because we will continue with the next sections.